So thank you, Mr. Masawi, for providing us this opportunity to discuss with you the strategies we have been taking to overcome Zimbabwe's challenges within the sugar industry. And honestly, as a CEO, your phenomenal leadership in overcoming challenges from global supply chains to local fiscal pressures have been phenomenal, especially in navigating the complex economic environment, yet leading HippoValley to steer through such challenges. And congrats for that.
No, thank you, Blessing, for that. I appreciate it. But I must say, it's a team effort. It's not just me, but I've got a team behind me that I'm working with. So thank you. I'll convey the message to them.
Now, looking into full year 2025, your revenue, your top line revenue soared to 192 million US dollars, and you opted for reinvestment rather than paying out dividends. So right now, how are you strategically allocating capital, maybe in things like new upgrades, irrigation, expansion, and other infrastructure development to enable better yields?
Yeah, we call it retooling when we talk in the sugar industry. Retooling in the sense that we are having to inject new equipment that will ensure that our efficiencies are maintained. Retooling in the agric section, retooling in the milling side, retooling in the distribution of the final products. We are having to invest in the new technology of drones for us to increase our mechanization and way of doing business, particularly when it comes to fertilizer application. We're investing in that technology. In terms of movement of products from the zone to field and field to the mill, we've also invested in our own haulage trucks and tractors that are going to assist and ensure that we have moved away from outsourcing of those services and to insourcing of the services, where we've got control in terms of movement of that. So we have invested in that as well. In terms of the machinery in the plant, we've had to replace old age equipment that was struggling, not giving us the necessary efficiencies, and invested in some state-of-the-art equipment. As a result, if you look at our overall time efficiencies, has moved on from 82 to about 87% efficiency in the factory. But for that efficiency to be maintained, you must ensure that you move products efficiently to the mills. Hence, the need for us to invest in the haulage system of the oil feeder system. So your bend to crush numbers, they've gone down to as low as 60, and yet before you'd go for almost 70 or 80 without a can being processed. So those are some of the measures that we have done. Thank you.
That's big stuff. Now, looking into currency for long, the Zimbabwean government has forced the companies to use the formal market rate in indexing prices, which was highly overvalued, and still it is 22% above the market determined rate. But however, with the enactment of Statutory Instrument 34 of 2025, businesses have been given the luxury to price above the formal market rate. Now, before you face the challenges of suppliers needing exclusive USD payments, are you still facing such challenges after the new statutory instrument?
We are not really facing that, I must be honest. I think things have stabilized. I think, like I said, up to August this year, the stabilization in terms of exchange rate has been felt across the industry and even in the business. So we are not facing those challenges of fluctuations in terms of demand of foreign currency. I think we are moving in the right direction. We are able to pay in whatever currency that we want, particularly our suppliers. We haven't had any challenges so far. That's why even supplies of spares to us has increased drastically, because there are no challenges of being told, can you play in this, or wait until next week or the exchange rate has changed, has moved, please pay these differences. So I'm happy with the current position at this moment, where there's a good stability in the way how we've been doing business.
Now, some industry experts are saying government owes suppliers and exporters over 1.5 billion as of August 2025, promoting an artificial stability of the local currency. Given that, if that is true, government is owing over 1.5 billion, to suppliers and exporters. How are you preparing to hedge against a possible ZiG implosion or currency carnage?
I think it's a catch-22. I know that some economists, some industrialists are talking of those numbers. As an industry, we are quite flexible in moving to the ZiG currency. Mind you, most of our products we are selling in the domestic market. Of the total of 440,000 tons that we produced last year, 350 went into the domestic market. So we have to gear ourselves to ensure that our sales have to be contained under the ZiG currency regime. The only area where I hope we'll be able to get some benefits is maintaining our exports, right? We need to maintain our exports in the US tariff quotas and the EU quotas that we get, because they will assist us in generating foreign currency that we'll use for us to be able to bring spares for our machinery. Because if we don't have that, then we're doomed. We need to maintain that. But in terms of having to agitate against the moving of a monocurrency is something that I think as an industry, we would not be in a position to challenge, but just to comply.
Yeah. That's good stuff. Let's look to the economic sector of Zimbabwe. It is 65% informal, and this informal sector is dominated by smuggled goods, which fetches a lower price despite being of lower quality. But because of the living conditions in Zimbabwe, despite the economy projected to grow by 6.6%, consumers prioritize pricing over quality. But however, the government has enacted Statutory Instrument 7 of 2025 targeting undocumented imports. Have you seen changes so far? And are smuggled products being also a challenge to you so far?
The government has enacted the statutory instrument, and there's been a blitz in terms of fake goods, as we call them. We also have seen that even in the sugar that has been coming across the border. Our sugar in Zimbabwe is fortified with vitamin A, and it goes through rigorous quality control standards before it is put on the table or before it is supplied to the beverage industry or to other industries. Yes, goods have been coming in, even sugar, particularly in the border towns like Mutare, Bedbridge, Plumtree. We've seen, yes, some products that have been coming in. Some of them are good brands that have been coming in. Others are fake brands that have been coming. As to the effect to us in terms of business, all I can say is we're fighting hard to ensure that our route to market, our presence in those border towns are felt by everyone. And we support the move that the government is doing, ensuring that we promote the local market and the domestic market, not to flood the market with fake goods. That, from a health point of view, would be disastrous to our families going ahead. The impact may not be felt now, but long term, it will be felt, like what has happened to the asbestos industry. So we are in full support of that. But we are saying as an industry, if the government is fighting to ensure that they curb the smuggling of those goods, as local industry, can we take that space and ensure that we adequately supply that, right? Because as you know, failure which of able to take that space, people will go for the cheaper goods, even if the quality is compromised.
Yeah. Now, let's shift to the VAT status. The shift of sugar from zero-rated to exempt has affected HippoValley, resulting in approximately 7 million in unclaimed input taxes for Hippo. And this has been also compounded by the 2% IMT tax. What strategies are you doing to lobby the government?
I must say this is a pain that we're going through, particularly for zero rating. We've engaged the government, we've engaged the Minister of Finance, we've engaged the Minister of Industry, we've engaged the Minister of Agriculture as to the net impact of all this. We are the largest employer. The sugar industry per se, HippoValley alone is carrying about 8,000 employees. And any other cost that affects our cost build-up in terms of production is something that we cannot carry. Hence, you find we have to look at the way how we do business. We've been lobbying with those three ministries. Promises have been made that they will look into it, particularly on the zero rating. It is a challenge that we're still embedded with. We're talking to them. So far, we haven't seen any positive results coming out. And I must be saying we are disappointed by that, because as a key player in terms of employment creation, one would have thought that would have been considered our request for us to reverse the decision that has been made, particularly on the zero rating. IMTT, something that is cutting across all industries. We meet under the CZI umbrella and discuss these things. And we've been assured by the Minister of Finance that after looking at agri and the dairy products, will be looking at coming to the industry to give some exemption or softening of some of the taxes that have been levied to the industry.
Okay, that's big stuff. Now let's look at sugar tax. Sugar tax has been affecting HippoValley indirectly because it has been affecting your bigger clients. Let's look at Delta. And the sugar tax has claimed about $38 million since its enactment. However, it is affecting HippoValley as these big clients are going for artificial sweetening. How are you coping with that?
Yeah, it is correct that indirectly it has affected us because, we've had huge off-takes from the beverage industry. And I must say, like when I did my presentation, I've shown you that there's been a decline in terms of off-take of raw sugar. Why raw sugar? Because our raw sugar, that is what is used for making refined sugar. That refined sugar, that is one that is supplied to the beverage industry. So it has affected us. Again, we've been lobbying, but when it comes to health issues, it's a bit tricky, right? We're working together with the beverage manufacturers to ensure that the government sees our point in ensuring that there are other means of trying to raise capital rather than having to just go for sugar tax. So far, we haven't seen some positive results coming out of that. But the question is, what is it that you are doing about artificial sweeteners? Look, artificial sweeteners can be introduced in beverage products, but the taste is not the same.
It will be different.
It will be different. We've seen it being introduced by one of the manufacturers here, and there was a big outcry by people whereby product has to get stale on the shelves because Zimbabweans, they've got their own unique tastes that they want when it comes to sugar. And for you to change overnight and introduce some artificial sweeteners is something that may not be palatable for them. So that alone, consumer resistance, will help us ensure that we continue maintaining that our sugar is the best sugar that can be used in the beverage industry.
So are you pursuing probably diversification, maybe citrus or any other industry to ensure resilience?
We have got other options, which I wasn't privy to discuss now. We run sugar as a business. We produce, we crush, we crystallize, and we make brown sugar. We also are looking at other options of ethanol, like what other players are doing. From juice, you can actually go and invest into ethanol production as a way of, like what they do in Brazil. You can just crush sugar and go for ethanol production as a way of diversification. We're considering that. And then on our fields that we are growing sugar, there are other options of citrus growing that we can go. There's palm oil production. There is lucerne grass production that is coming up. So those options, we've been looking at them. They're still at what I call class note in terms of discussions. But the option of ethanol from growing sugar is something that is at an advanced stage, I must say, at the moment. We're considering that as an option. Mind you, the government is prepared to go up to E20 when it comes to blending. And sometimes they go down to E5. That is 5% blending. And the reason why they do that is because of inadequate feedstock from the ethanol producers. So if we go that route, they will be able to maintain even E15 for the country in terms of times when demand is very high.
Now, the United States has flagged interest in removing sanctions to the remaining 11 individuals in Zimbabwe, probably also opening channels for international funding, given Zimbabwe is capable of paying $3.5 billion in 12 months. Given that the sanctions are removed and now Zimbabwe has access to global funding, how do you plan to exploit that as an opportunity?
Like any other business in Zimbabwe, borrowing currently has been very expensive. The interest rates that we've been carrying. I would wait one day for a day when Zimbabwe is able to go and borrow at low interest rates for us to be able to retool our businesses we've got a lot of plans. We can go into thinking of making other products, like we can do carbon dioxide from our sugar. We can do, like I told you, the ethanol plant. We can do stock feed manufacturing. Why? Because we've got a lot of excess bagasse that we can use. We can go and make full flour that we can also make from our sugar. We can also go into heavy power generation using the excess bagasse that we have. And for that to happen, you need big investments in turbines. You need big investments in stock feed machinery. So a facility like that, if that happens, we'll be able to also to go and borrow and expand our businesses, not just focus on sugar. Because dealing with sugar only is like putting all our eggs in one basket. Thank you.
Now, fertilizer costs are projected to grow between 5 to 7% through 2026. Mm-hmm. How are you planning to curb such costs, especially given the bite from sugar taxes, the bad status of sugar, and tight monetary policy, which is limiting liquidity in the market?
Right. Fertilizer, it is an issue that we always have been debating. You know that spiking started particularly when the Ukrainian war started. Accessibility and availability was a challenge. First and foremost, we've got what we call the Zimbabwe Sugar Association Experiment Station. Currently, they are working on varieties that we are planning to develop that would require less fertilizer application, but giving similar yields as a way of replacement the demand for fertilizer. I cannot elaborate now into the details of that. That's one area we are looking at. We are also looking at other options of the application itself. Because remember, when you apply manually and so forth, it's not the same when you're doing drone technology in terms of Africa, because it's more precise and more efficient. And we are saying those are other more measures that we are trying to do. Already we've invested, we've bought drones. Our pilots are being trained for the usage of that. And we hope the utilization of those in the system is going to assist us a lot. We also, from an ethanol plant, we produce stillage. And that stillage, if it's dried and softened, it can be very good with rich potassium investment in it. We can use that as a preliminary way of irrigating our fields, hence minimize the amount of fertilizer that we use. Those practices are already being applied in other countries. So we're looking at those options. We've got teams, our technical division, working on that, but I'm not at liberty to disclose the details as to progress made to date.
Now, unlike the stomach, which tells you when it's empty, the brain doesn't do that. And there's no one who holds like full knowledge to themselves. What is the message you want to relay to the government in terms of the sugar industry challenge that we are facing?
What I want to highlight to the government is we have, let me just explain, the Minister of Agriculture and the Minister of Industry. We've been working with them for the past 6 months on what we call the Zimbabwe Sugar Industry Strategy Document 10-year plan that we've been working on. We have presented our thoughts to the ministry. We did that last week on Friday. As we speak now today, there's an Indaba that is taking place at the Cresta to discuss our views, what the government are saying, the other millers, other cane growers, to come up with a document that can be used as a blueprint on how the industry has to run. We feel that there are a lot of things that we can copy from other countries that we are not doing. We feel that there are other legislations that are in place now that I think they are outdated. We need also to look at the coming in of the African Free Continental Trade Agreement, what's its impact to us. If it comes as we speak now with our high input costs, then we are doomed. We have to come and see how best can we protect the domestic industry for it to grow and be able to stand on its own before we implement that. So we are talking to the government. There's a team that has been put in place, both from the various ministries and ourselves. And we are discussing and coming up with a blueprint, which hopefully should be ready by end of next month.
So what's your short-term or short-medium-term expectations for HippoValley and the message that you are sending out to investors and shareholders?
The message to the government first is please continue to protect us as a business. Don't open borders like what was done last time, where there was flooding of products. It kills the business, it kills employment, people lose jobs. We don't want that. You have to protect us like any other country. There's protection of the sugar industry. Secondly, to investors is, I think the sky is the limit in terms of investment. We have plenty of water. We've got enough water. I've told you we've got 3-year water supply. in the lower velds. The land is there. We've got plenty of land. There's need for us to look at vertical and horizontal growth of the business. The only challenge that still remains is the conveyancing system, opening of more canals. We want to build a green belt in the lower velds. And once that is done, we'll be able to utilize fully the water that is available in these dams. As we speak now, it will be like a white elephant because not much utilization has been taking place. And you don't have to focus only on sugar. Like I said, you can look at palm oil, you can look at bananas, you can look at citrus, you can look at Hussein grass, you can look at a lot of products that can be grown out of there. And that is the message that I'm saying to investors. Please come to the lower velds. There's a lot of opportunity. And there's plenty of water and plenty of land and good climatic conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Masawi, for such an insightful time, and I wish you a very successful journey with HippoValley Limited.
Thank you.
Equity Live presents the complete online interactive presentation solution. Hosting AGMs, media and analyst briefings has never been this simple, efficient and affordable. Communicate globally through a combination of high-definition video and your prepared multimedia presentation from any location of your choice. Interact with your invited participants from all over the world in question and answer sessions and voting sessions in real time on our safe, secure, and affordable platform. Contact Equity Live for a free customized demonstration. Equity Live, real-time presentation solutions.